Are we entering a winter period for smart cars after all of the hype? Where do we stand right now? Daphne Leprince-Ringuet here for ZDNet to talk a little bit more about this. Daphne, where are we with smart cars in general?
But if there's one thing that we know for sure is that smart cars are meant to bring huge wealth and huge growth to the economy. That they're talking about trillions of extra dollars of revenue and of growth, every year for the global economy. Just in the UK, it's expected to generate £62 billion worth of growth until 2030. So there's a lot of benefits from moving around the countries more efficiently and of using smart cars to boost productivity. Now, are we there yet? It seems that we're still missing smart cars on our roads quite significantly. The US is definitely a leading force in the industry with the major companies that are leading the way and showing the way forward, like Waymo in the US, and showing that we can commercialize the technology and sort of pioneering that field. In the UK as well, we have trials going on. There's a slight difference in that the UK, a few years ago, the government released an industrial strategy. And as part of this strategy, the UK government made a commitment that by 2021, we would have fully self-driving cars with no human safety operator on board on UK roads by 2021. So now that's just a few months away. And it's not looking that likely. Of course, we do have trials going on, especially in London. We've got autonomous miles being driven, just like companies are doing in the US. The main project that is usually being pointed to as evidence that the government is going to meet its deadline is called Project Cav Forth. It's going to be a 14-mile route in Scotland between Edinburgh and Fife that's going to be driven by autonomous buses. It's expected to carry 10,000 passengers a week that will be paying for this service, and it will have human safety drivers on board. So it's sort of an example of the fact that the tech can be commercialized, that the tech is there. It shows that the UK government has delivered on its promise to have a form of self-driving technology on UK roads by 2021. But it's worth noting that there will still be a human safety driver on board, which means that it's not a level 5 vehicle. So it's a bit in the middle in that sense, and perhaps not a fulfillment of the promise as it was originally formulated.
Yeah, and Daphne, obviously this was what we consider to be the future of transportation, no doubt. So why the loss of momentum?
So the tech is there, as I said, the trials are being carried out, the miles are being carried out, but essentially everything around the tech is missing. All the frameworks, all the guidelines, all the laws are missing to make sure that we have an ecosystem of autonomous cars that users can trust and use. So essentially what's happening, and which is what experts have been telling me, is that we're going to have level 4 cars regulated by the same rules as we use for level 2 cars, which are cars where the drivers are supposed to have the 2 hands on the wheel at all times. In the UK, we've only just started thinking about changing the law so that we could carry out trials without a human safety driver on board. So that sort of idea of having level 5 cars on the road, which is how we could interpret the initial promise made by the UK government, looks like it's not going to happen by 2021. There are many things that still need looking at, for example, cybersecurity, which is an important issue. We need to make sure that there is enough research into making sure that the cars are not hacked or attacked. There's also the issue of responsibility and liability. So if there's an accident involving an autonomous car, who is responsible for it? So we need to create an ecosystem that is accountable, that is responsible, that is ethical. Not only to make sure that in the case that we need those laws, we can use them, but also for users to actually trust the cars and start using them, which is the only way to sort of take the technology forward and start commercializing it at scale. So that all that framework and all these guidelines are still missing, and they're just as important as having the tech ready, which it has objectively already been done.
Yeah, Daphne, creating that ecosystem obviously will take time. So what are the first next obvious steps or things that need to happen?
So the main thing, as with many other technologies, is funding. So we need more funding to go into research groups and into legal frameworks for the tech to make sure that we can develop this ecosystem. The US is perhaps forward thinking in that there is a lot more funding for these things. And just even in terms of the technology itself, it's quite evident that the technology in the US is driving more miles, is perhaps a bit further ahead than the UK. Waymo, for example, recently announced that they had already driven 20 million miles with the fleet of autonomous cars. This compares to the UK, where the largest journey driven was 230 miles. So it seems that the US is slightly forward on that. However, it is also still lacking those legal frameworks and guidelines. It's a global problem that needs fixing, and it's sort of the next step and the next focus for the next 5 years, if we are to avoid going into a winter of smart cars where consumer interest will be lost for the technology.
All right, very good. Daphne, we certainly appreciate your input here on this. And for more on the future of smart cars, make sure you check out Daphne's full article and much more on ZDNet. Thanks for watching.